Did you know that we have channel memberships now? If you'd like to help support this channel, get some exclusive Kowabana emotes to use in the comments, as well as an exclusive badge by your name, click that join button now to find out more. Every bit of support really helps. Thanks guys. After a viewer told him about an extremely dangerous hospital, he decided to check it out and stream from there right away. Himegawa Hospital, a long-abandoned building in Niigata Prefecture. The perfect spot for some scary stories. Most hospitals of this size generally kept the morgue in the basement, so he looked all around for an elevator leading down, but he couldn't find anything. It wouldn't be a very fun stream if he couldn't find the scariest location of all. He asked his viewers where he could find the morgue, but he kept getting different answers. As he tried to filter through the chat, suddenly he heard footsteps coming from behind him. By the sound of the clicking, it was high heels. A woman? Yet he was talking to his viewers, so he tried to ignore it. He felt a cold air coming from the rear of the building to his left, and again he asked his viewers where he could find the morgue. But then, suddenly, he heard a woman's voice whisper something by his right ear. He couldn't make out what she was saying, but the voice chilled him to the core. Panicking, he turned around and noticed a white figure standing there. He turned and bolted, and before him there now stood two doors. A plastic nameplate hung above them stating, "Morgue." Still in a panic, he continued running. But the scariest part of all was that when he got outside and checked his stream, he realized that it had cut off only 10 minutes in. So, who was he streaming to and talking to all that time? Himegawa Hospital, located in Itoigawa City in Niigata Prefecture, opened in 1987, making it a much newer location than most ghost spots you'll generally find covered here. It was run by a medical cooperative association and was built via investments from residents in the area. There weren't many hospitals or doctors around, so once the large 4-story hospital was built, it became the centre for medicine in the area. The hospital fit 114 beds and saw over 200 patients a day, focusing particularly on rehabilitating stroke victims, as well as providing home care and support. Many argue it's the reason why the nearby Himegawa station, which opened just a year earlier, was built as well. But while the hospital opened with noble intentions, it sadly didn't last very long. Healthcare system reforms, a shortage of doctors, and the medical cooperative's poor management all led to the hospital going bankrupt. On June 30th, 2006, not even 2 decades after the hospital opened, it closed its doors forever, with a massive debt of 2.2 billion yen. As with many other buildings that were abandoned due to bankruptcy, this one was simply left where it was. And over the years, both natural and human destruction took their toll on it. And being an abandoned hospital, it didn't take long for rumours to spread that it was haunted, creating a vicious circle of more and more people visiting to test their courage, causing even more destruction, and leaving it in a worse and more frightening state for those who came after them. Demolition work did begin on the building in February 2019, but soon after was suspended. Nobody is quite sure why, but it didn't take long for rumours to spread that the caretaker had gone missing, perhaps in the hospital itself, and so they had to stop. Either way, the only thing we do know is that demolition work began, but then promptly stopped, and they didn't get very far to begin with. 2 years later, on June 1st, 2021, a fire broke out in the building that was suspected to be arson. And, at present, the remains of the building still stand. A deteriorating testament to big dreams that were ultimately crushed due to mismanagement and medical reforms. So, with that history out of the way, what is it about this relatively recent abandoned building that's supposedly haunted? After all, not even 2 decades have passed since its closure, yet, despite that, people claim to have experienced all sorts of supernatural hauntings there. One of the most common is that you can hear high heels clicking throughout the hospital late at night. Naturally, this occurs when nobody else is there. Who the high heels belong to remains a mystery, and nobody has uncovered whether it's supposed to be a patient, nurse, doctor, or visitor. That part is less important, of course. High heels in an abandoned building are just creepy. You don't need anything more than that. In addition, people claim to have heard a woman screaming for help from the operating room. If you happen to be nearby, you might also see her come running at you, covered in blood. Some have tied her to the sound of the high heels, but their connection is simply an educated guess. And if you go to the morgue, supposedly numerous female spirits hang around there as well. Perhaps the high heels belong to one of them instead. Other than that, people claim you can also hear a man screaming from the operating room. It's a busy room. A man covered in bandages has sometimes been spotted roaming the halls in a wheelchair. The nurses' call buttons like to go off by themselves. And it's not uncommon to hear doorknobs rattling and mysterious knocking on the doors as well. All while the hospital is empty, of course. The most terrifying rooms in the hospital are, of course, the morgue and the operating room. One story tells of a group of students on their way home from a training camp who decided to stop by the hospital and check it out. Once inside, they were frightened by the sound of the infamous high heels, but no matter where they looked, they couldn't find the source of the sound. They also heard doorknobs rattling as they explored some of the rooms, and that was enough to get them to flee at once. Another visitor claimed to hear something strange coming from the linen room. When they went to investigate, they were overwhelmed by a strange presence, and then they saw something move before the portrait of the deceased first board chairman. And those people aren't alone. All over the internet, you can find blog entries and even YouTube videos from people who visited the hospital and claim to have seen something supernatural there. Why is this relatively new hospital so haunted? It seems to have a much wider variety of ghosts than other places. One explanation is the river nearby. Ghosts naturally love water, and with the Hime River right on the hospital's back doorstep, perhaps it's bringing spirits to the hospital, or at least helping them remain there. And being a newer ghost spot, it exists in an age where people have much easier access to recording devices. All sorts of videos have been posted to YouTube over the years, and numerous people have even streamed from there. Unlike similar ghost spots of this nature, this one is also incredibly easy to access. All of these things combine to make a perfect ghost spot for the internet and streaming age, and these videos can help perpetuate rumors even further by outright showing some of the supposed hauntings, such as clicking in the halls and strange sounds at night. Either way, Himegawa Hospital remains an interesting example of a rather recent haunted building that mostly gained fame in the video and streaming age. But even if you don't believe in ghosts, it's still not the safest place to visit. It's an abandoned hospital full of broken glass, metal, abandoned medical equipment, and more. They might not get you, but the deteriorating structure might. But what did you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.